Hi, I'm Peter Tragos, host of the Lawyer You Know podcast and YouTube channel. The saying goes, everyone hates lawyers until you need one. Well, I'm here when you need one to answer your questions and give you insight that you didn't know you needed. Along with my partners, Pete Sardis, the professor, who has a finance and business background, and George Tragos, my dad, and the consigliere, a criminal defense giant, we can answer any questions you have. What's up, everybody? We are back to talk more about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. That trial is the case we are going to be breaking down on today's Case by Case with me, Tragos Law. That's what we're talking about today. We're taking kind of part two of Amber's testimony post lunch break. So the afternoon, which is a lot of where the crazy stories came. There were some lulls during the testimony there, but overall, I thought a lot came out, and I actually think there's actually some positives for her in this portion of the testimony. So when we talk about what we believe, what we don't believe, it's okay to think certain things make more sense, certain things don't line up at all. And I think there were some of both in there. There were certain things that absolutely made no sense and don't line up at all, but there were some things that I think are plausible, and some things that there's some things that I think if she just would have explained them a little bit differently and didn't exaggerate, that maybe I would be more inclined to believe him. And I think the jury may think that as well. So we're going to talk about all that. What's going to be really fun too, is at the end, I'm going to talk about the schedule. The judge has changed the schedule for any of you that are watching streams. We'll talk about when the case is going to finish. We're going to talk about, because a lot of you want to know what instructions the judge gave the jury on this long break. We have that. And then a very unusual thing the judge is doing in this trial that I literally have never had happen to me in a trial before. And I haven't seen a judge explain since I was in mock trial in law school. Mock trial is a team you try out for. You go across the country and try cases. Our mock trial team actually went to San Francisco for a national mock trial competition, which we won, which was really fun and very unusual to go out nationally to California as a Florida team. For those of you who don't know, I went to Florida State Law School. We went out there and won, and something happened in this trial that this judge explained at the end, where if you didn't catch it, I'm going to explain it. And it's very interesting, and it adds a different kind of dynamic and also answers a lot of questions that you, the very perceptive audience, asked. And I love it when this happens, because I'm not blowing smoke. It's for people out there that think and say here, oh, I have a dumb question. Sorry, this is a dumb question. I just want to know this. It's not dumb questions. They're not dumb thoughts. As much as you may disagree with somebody's point of view on this channel or in this audience, you're wrong if you just think that their opinion doesn't matter, because we have a jury up here of different people, and all of their opinions are going to matter, so much so that if one of them can't be convinced, it's a hung jury, and we may have to do this all over again. So that's what I like to hear. I like to hear questions and comments from you all, because then when the judge ends up talking about it, it makes me think, man, the audience was right. Those potential jurors out there were right. So we've got some fun stuff to talk about at the end as well. And as always, I'm going to do the recap first, and then I will get to absolutely as many of the questions as I can. Always the caveat that I've been giving lately, I get to every single super chat I possibly can. It does not mean I get to every single one, but I do my absolute best as much as I have time. I've got a little over an hour today, and I've got a hard stop because I have another appointment. And for those of you that are new, I'm Peter Tragos. I'm a personal injury lawyer in the Tampa Bay area. We handle wrongful death cases, catastrophic injury cases, car accidents, slip and falls, nursing home negligence, med mal. My dad specializes in criminal defense, so that's what our firm does, personal injury criminal defense. And if you ever need anything in those areas, please feel free to reach out to us. And then if it's something in another area, let us know. We'll see if we can connect you with somebody that's great at what you need. We handle cases all over the country ourselves, and we also have people we work with all over the country. So feel free to reach out. We always post our email, phone number, website is tragoslaw.com. That's our actual firm website if you want to look at our credentials or anything like that. So let's jump into it. Okay. Oh, sorry. One more announcement. Sorry. I know some people hate this in the beginning. Skip through it. We are doing another giveaway because we did in fact hit 60K so fast. And again, if we hit 70K next week, I'll do another giveaway. I'll just keep doing giveaways because it's fun. And we post it on the community page. You have to be a subscriber, and you have to answer that question on the community page, which is what is your favorite lawyer you know moment. And it's really funny because so many of you that are answering are new, so you don't have a ton of moments to pick from, but that's cool. I'm probably going to announce it at about 2:30. So if anybody in here wants to go answer the question on the community page, you will be entered to win a Lawyer You Know merch t-shirt. This is one of our pieces of merch, case by case at Tragos Law in Florida State colors. We have all sorts of different colors. It's actually super good quality. I don't make them or anything. It's just from a website. So if anybody wants to check that out, we're giving away a piece of merch today on this live. So let's jump into the recap here. So a lot of more discussion of things that we've already talked about at different places and different serious physical abuse that Johnny did to Amber. And it was pulling out my hair, clumps of hair were all over the place, beating my brains out, breaking my nose, busting up my face, busting my lip, bruises all over, black eyes, 2 black eyes, all sorts of things like that. When she shows up to Australia, Johnny apparently offers some MDMA to her. And she says, "That's ridiculous. After that one time, I swear I'd never do it again with him," is what she says. Never do it again with him, because we know she does do it again. There was all these pictures of the house in Australia. I don't know how they're going to connect that in at this point. She was appalled about the MDMA, and she thinks he took 8 to 10 pills. Okay. From what I know about it, that's a lot. But what's even more interesting from a legal perspective of her testimony here is she had no clue how many he took. It was like, yeah, 8 to 10. Well, I can't remember if that was how many he took or how many was left after he took his. So that's a big difference, because if there was only 12 and there's 10 left, that's different than saying you took 8 to 10. So not sounding super credible again. And this is one of the moments in her testimony where I was like, why bring this up? I mean, but here's on the other side, if you're going to lie, you might as well just stick to a lie and say it was 10 or say it was 8. But she kind of quibbles back and forth with herself, which I didn't like. And also she mentioned math again, but earlier in her testimony, she said, "I'm an actress, not a mathematician." So I thought that was funny that she's doing math again now, trying to subtract how many pills he took and how many were left over. So that was interesting. Then, very interesting part to me, okay, just knowing how some family law cases go. She says she heard him on the phone with his agent, she assumed, and he was complaining about losing money or somebody stealing money from him, or money issues and money stress and business stress. Then in the literal next breath, she says, "So then I called my divorce attorney." In the next breath. I'm not sure if she meant to correlate it or if it was a Freudian slip, but she literally went from business problems, somebody stealing money from him, which we already know. We've heard testimony about that. Somebody was stealing money from Johnny Depp. Then she says, I called my divorce lawyer. So she immediately says, I mean, my relationship lawyer or something, called them something different. And then goes on to mention the postnump. So it's like, he's having money issues. I call my divorce lawyer, and then I talk about a postnump. Why would you call a divorce lawyer if you're talking about a postnump? And it just doesn't line up. It doesn't look good, in my opinion. And this is one of at least 3 things I can think of that she corrected awkwardly that maybe she didn't really need to correct like that. Then she said a quote of, everybody warned him about me. And he told me that as a cut. Everybody warned him about me. And I'm thinking, if the jurors already made up their mind, this is going to push them again to the side that they're at. Everybody's warned him about me. If you're on Amber's side, you say, "Oh, that's so sad. He had preconceived notions. He's so mean to her." But if you're on Johnny's side, you're going to think, he should have listened to all those people warning him about you. So then we get to some of the quotes that she had for Johnny when they were getting in these fights. Like, "You want to go, little girl? You think you're tough? I'll show you, kid," with a bunch of expletives in there. He held a broken bottle to her face and neck and threatened to carve up her face, and she thought he might kill her. Now, This is something she said multiple times today, that she was afraid for her life and afraid Johnny might try to kill her. This is actually believable testimony for somebody that goes through the severe amount of abuse she's explaining on the stand, which would make this more believable, in my opinion, at least this portion, when she's saying she feels or fears for her life. The problem is, for multiple days, all these legal analysts on YouTube and everywhere else has been saying, you know what a normal victim says? They're in fear for their life. They don't recognize the dirt on the carpet or their breath on the window. And we didn't get those kind of details throughout the testimony yesterday. We got more details of the fear and the fear for her life. I thought that was very interesting. All right, let's see here. He flung me all around from wall to wall, to counter to floor, beating me, bruising me, hitting my head, hitting my face. She breaks down a couple times explaining this, explaining smashing the phone against the wall. It's scary and sad. And again, I think that could be true. I mean, seeing the violent outbursts on inanimate objects can be scary. And I think that this part of her testimony could be true. I don't like to judge whether somebody's really crying or fake crying. I know a lot of people did that with Rittenhouse. I said the same thing I'm going to say here with Rittenhouse. I don't know. I don't know them. I don't know what they look like when they cry. Everybody looks different and acts different when they cry. I know Rittenhouse seemed like he was having a panic attack the way he was breathing on there. I know a lot of people made fun of it. To me, I've seen people cry like that before. Hers, here's my biggest problem. Okay? My biggest problem with her crying. She looks at the jury a lot when she testifies. A lot of you, again, astutely brought that up. So did a lot of experts, and so did a lot of Johnny's witnesses. And I always think that I don't think that's a bad thing. A lot of the questions are, tell the jury about this. Will you explain this to the jury? Rin said, can I subscribe to your channel if it's okay? Yes, please do. And looking at the jury is not in and of itself a bad thing. But you don't have a problem with you looking at the jury when you're supposed to be uncontrollably crying and sobbing because of the serious abuse that has occurred, and you're afraid for your life, and you've just been violated. And she literally, if you watch the clips back, which I'm sure a lot of you do, because you're like detectives in private eyes, you guys are wild, but she literally goes, oh, she's crying, and then she goes, and literally looks up at the jury after wiping her face. I have a problem with that, and that doesn't look good. A lot of you don't even like when she looks at the jury when she's testifying. That doesn't bother me. But that was a tough watch for me. All right. Then she says this kind of line of things that she remembers. I remember losing control of my bladder, blood all over the floor. And then here is we're going to get to where I think she could have said these things in a much more believable way than the way that she did. I took a bunch of sleeping pills, which she then changed to say, I mean, not a bunch. It was a lot for me. Again, I guess trying to throw a jab at Johnny, like maybe it's not a lot for him who could take 8 to 10 MDMAs, but I took a bunch of sleeping pills. Let's be honest. I know a lot of people here in the chat, and it would have been a lot of people's opinion, and maybe somebody on the jury would have said, oh, she took a lot of sleeping pills. That's bad. That shows she's horrible, or, this is, a problem or whatever, and use that against her. Sure. I'm sure there would have been some people that would have done that. Me personally, I think it would have made her more believable, because that's common language we use in everyday life. I took a bunch of sleeping pills and went to sleep. Okay. I mean, I'm not saying that's something people say all the time, but I mean, using the phrase a bunch of, yeah, I've gotten a bunch of speeding tickets. Yeah. I had a bunch of beer last night, or a bunch of drinks or whatever. There was a bunch of us there. To me, that's normal language, but she caught herself, and I think tried to change the way the jury might look at it, which is why she corrected herself. And then it just was awkward. And now it looks like she was trying to back off of a truth that she told, which is that she did take a bunch of sleeping pills. And I did start to think when she keeps explaining the events that happened in Australia after taking a bunch of sleeping pills, how can we trust her memory? Because you're either sleeping after taking a bunch of sleeping pills, even for you, Correct. People are saying she corrected herself. I agree, but she still said it. But whether it was a bunch or two or whatever, you're either sleeping or it's affecting you and you're groggy. You're not just up and at 'em and, keenly aware of everything that's going on. She also, so this was one of the three ways. So I already mentioned one way she awkwardly corrected herself from normal everyday language. This was the second way. And the third one was calling Pirates of the Caribbean 5 P5. She said it multiple times. P5. Johnny was going to P5. I'm sorry, I mean Pirates of the Caribbean 5. Johnny was working that day on P5. I mean Pirates of the Caribbean 5. That sounds like a performance. Like her and her lawyers discussed, you want to say Pirates of the Caribbean 5, not P5. I'm always very careful when I prep witnesses not to change the way they say things to the way I see things. If we're explaining the same event, we use different language. Everybody uses different language. But when she tries to suppress her language to use somebody else's language, it seems coached. So that was another one where I just thought, why are you changing this? And this makes it less believable to me. Then she mentioned how he was blaring Marilyn Manson music, but she wasn't even sure because she doesn't listen to that kind of music. Again, the negative connotation with Marilyn Manson that she was trying to get out. She speculates a lot about what he did with that blood. Again, after she was sleeping on her sleeping pills, he must have run out of blood. That's why he went and got paint. A lot of you have already made the arguments. Like it looks completely different. The blood is illegible. The paint is legible. So it seems more plausible that she wrote it instead of him. But then she said another problem and just very disingenuous thing that she said. I was as surprised as you, or as shocked as you, or as bewildered as you to hear that testimony that I was the one that wrote on the walls. It's like, first off, it's fine for you to say I disagree with it and I think he's lying or whatever you want to say, or that couldn't possibly be true. Fine for you to say that. But for you to say you're surprised, okay, and this is a bigger picture thing about like Hogue says, a liar who's lying who lies, or a lying liar who lies, whatever it is you're not surprised. You're not shocked by it because you've heard it in the deposition, you've heard it in the UK trial, and you've heard it with Johnny on the stand. So it's not surprising to you and it shouldn't shock you. And to me, that makes me feel like you're telling a story and you're acting. I think that's a pretty objective way to look at it. And I said I'm going to get to some of the stuff I thought was believable with her, and I will. I didn't realize in my outline as how I was watching it that it starts out with some of the bad stuff. But I am going to get some stuff I actually thought she did better in her testimony. And again, a lot of people will disagree with me, but we will get there. All right. Another catchphrase she says all the time that I don't like. I know this sounds crazy or nothing. I know this doesn't make sense, but it's like, yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. She mentioned how Kipper gave her that beautiful nightgown. Weird. I think she said as a wedding present, and Johnny tied raw meat in it after ripping it off her. And then, more stories about the finger and the blood. So here's the first poll question I want to ask. People ask for more poll questions for the chat, and here's the first one. The bloody finger story. Severed finger, blood all over the wall, blood everywhere. Did he cut it off? Was it smashed with a vodka bottle? The first time I heard that story, my reaction was, whoa, shock and awe. I feel like I've heard it so often now that my reaction's kind of meh now when I hear it. So I want to see if any of you guys feel the same. We're going to post a poll in there. When you hear the bloody finger bloodbath story, what is your reaction? Is it shock and awe or is it meh? And let us know. And then we'll go through the results of the chat later. Yes, if you haven't taken a second to hit the like button, we do have over 5,000 people in here, which is awesome. Hit the like button and subscribe. There will be a winner picked for a giveaway here. And if we can get to 70,000 by next week, we'll pick another winner, which is going to be fun. So yeah, hit that subscribe button and like if you haven't already, and get your questions in because I'm almost done with the recap and then we'll get to the questions. Now let's talk about some graphic testimony. When she talked about him penetrating her with the bottle, hitting her hip bone, saying, "I'm going to effing kill you." She was bleeding from her vagina and realized she could really be hurt. She wasn't thinking about the pain, which is weird, and she was hoping that it wasn't the broken bottle. And she said, I was scared because I just married this man. And Elaine with a very improper question of, can you explain the penetration again after we already got it? But I guess there was more that they practiced. That's an indication to me. There was more that they practiced. Amber said, I can't believe I have to do this. And Elaine says, I'm sorry. And then asks her to keep telling him how she put it in and put it out, pulled it and hit the pelvic bone. I think her description of that was pretty shaking, and shaking, not shaky, like, man, that's horrible. Like, that is horrible for that to happen to somebody. And the hitting of the pelvic bone, to me, that's all believable. And thinking he was going to kill you and being afraid for your life, all of that is very believable to me. And on its own in a vacuum, I would do anything I could to help that person. But the follow-up questions about, I can't believe I have to do this. Oh, I'm so sorry, but please tell us again, that Elaine did. It just doesn't seem legitimate. It seems rehearsed. It seems like acting. Rachel, can you post that poll? I see some people answering, but I want to get a poll question in here about the disco bloodbath and bloody finger. I sent you an email with the 2 polls. So yeah, so that one kind of hit both ways. Sometimes part of it I felt like was awesome. Part of it I did not feel like was very believable. Okay, she said she did post the poll. Sorry, I must have just missed it. So yeah, there's a poll about how you feel about the bloodbath story now. Okay, next was the ping pong picture. Okay, a broken ping pong table. A bunch of leading questions. Again, more objections from Camille that were good. Photo of the kitchen that's showing cans on the ground. Some pictures of blood in the bed. So we got all these pictures and all this documentation. She said it was a catastrophe. There was stuff everywhere. Didn't look that bad. So then to combat that, she says, well, this was after it had already been cleaned up. If this was true and it had already all been cleaned up, then why were there cans on the floor and dirt on the floor and a broken lamp? It was very difficult to me to try to figure out, well, has it been cleaned up or has it not? Because it definitely doesn't look like it's been cleaned up, but it definitely doesn't look like the scene you're creating in my mind. And that's the biggest miss to me in Amber's testimony today. She creates this scene of apocalyptic problems. And then the pictures we do see are so muted compared to that. If she would have shown the pictures, then explained, maybe that would have been better. But the way she explained it, the picture you put in your mind is not at all the picture that we see, let alone the injuries. We're going to get to the injury pictures. She definitely 100% has bruising right here, in my opinion. I see that. A little blood on the lip, but that's not as locked in. To me, I buy that she had bruising on her nose and under her eyes. Absolutely buy it. And if she explained the story that he headbutted her in the middle of the face, hit the nose, and her bruising spread under her eyes, I'm saying, listen, she says it. There's documented photo evidence of it. And she's saying she took these pictures right after. I believe it. I do. But that's not what she said. She said he broke my nose, busted my lip. There was blood everywhere. And then shows us those pictures, a lot of which don't even show a bloody lip. And the ones that do, it looks like a cold sore on the top of her lip, not a split lip when somebody punches you with rings and it busts on your teeth. So because her explanation doesn't match the pictures, even though I do see an injury on one of those pictures, that makes it hard to believe. So let's get those poll results now. Rachel's going to send them to me because I'm going to get to my next poll. And to think about that, these are the pictures she got days later showing the bruising. Why? Why did you wait days? You took pictures of the ping pong table. You took pictures of the kitchen. You took pictures of the lamp. You took pictures of everything that was written on the walls. But you didn't take a picture of the injuries. I see people saying they disagree about the injuries and the bruising in the picture, and that's fine. And that's why if we were sitting on the jury together, we'd talk about it. But even if I see bruising, her story doesn't line up with that bruising. And that's the problem. Then she explains actually, we're going to pause to get to there and get these poll results. 15 people are still shocked when they hear about the bloodbath story. 85 are meh. And I do think it loses its luster a little bit. So if you're trying to use that to make Johnny Depp seem psycho and crazy, it's losing its luster a bit. I do think that because we've heard it so much. And I kind of think the drugs and alcohol are kind of having that same feeling. In the beginning, I was like, wow, Johnny does a lot of drugs. Now I'm kind of like, oh, okay, he was on coke. Yeah, okay, he seems like he's got a high tolerance. Oh, he's doing MDMA, smoking weed. Like weed, I'm like, big deal. Probably helps. Weed, he probably is better on weed. Like that's what I'm thinking now. It's losing its luster to me the more we hear about it. So the next poll, because I've given some parts that I really do think are believable, what I see in the pictures, that I absolutely think parts of her testimony are believable. I think he was probably jealous. I think he probably did want to have a say on what movies she took. She may have asked him. I think that he did say nasty stuff to her and go off a cliff and have these mood swings she talks about, and she had to play nurse sometimes. I believe that. That makes sense. You can understand that with somebody that's depressed and has these alcohol and drug issues. There are parts I do think are believable. But my question to you is, after listening to this amount of Amber Heard's testimony, how much of her testimony do you believe as we sit here today before cross-examination? And the three options are all of it, some of it, or none of it. That's what I want to know. And please don't just quickly click none of it. Think about it. Even if you just believe some of it, even if it's a little bit of it, let me know, because I do want to believe how many just at least believe some of it, because that's where I'd be. I believe some of it. I don't want to sway the results. And I know you guys love disagreeing with me, which is my own fault because I love disagreement and I love talking about this. But I want to hear your thoughts. When Amber starts saying, okay, so here's something I had a big beef with. Some of Elaine's questioning is horrible, but I have a huge problem with, and there was an objection, but she did it a bunch of times. And for me, I am appalled when a witness starts saying, well, I talked to this person on the phone and without saying what they said, I knew that Johnny was doing drugs or whatever it is that she said. That's just circumventing hearsay. You can't do that because I knew Johnny was doing drugs is based on that hearsay. You can't base your answers on the hearsay. And to be coached like that and to answer like that is violating the rules of evidence. And Camille finally put a stop to it. And that was just making me so annoyed. Because it's like, okay, answer the question, but don't say what they said. So it was very obviously giving context to the jury that somebody told them this. And a lot of you are frustrated with hearsay. And if there are some questions on hearsay that we get to, I'll explain it deeper. But the jury probably is too. And they're wondering, well, why can't we know what they said? But there are legal reasons why they can't. And it's like Elaine and Amber are playing that against Johnny's team, which is unfair. We all play by the same rules. And I hate when rules are unequal at trial. That's supposed to be the equal playing field. All right, this recap's taking too long. I'll try to go quick. Okay, so the fight with her sister. Her sister becomes involved. Johnny took a swing at her, took a swing at her sister. She wasn't taking it. She reacted. It's the first time she ever made contact in their relationship, punched Johnny in the face because when she saw her sister, she thought Johnny was going to throw her down the stairs because all her mind went to was Kate Moss and the stairs. Now, I have no clue what the Kate Moss story is. I have seen Kate Moss publicly backing Johnny, but I did see Ben Chu very obviously and clearly fist pump when she said that. Now, I don't know if that's because it opens the door to maybe some of Johnny's prior relationships being able to testify in rebuttal, if he thinks it opens the door to her prior relationships, but they were definitely happy about that testimony. She called the nurse to talk about concussion. She has to say something like that because logically thinking, it makes no sense that you wouldn't call any medical professionals with these issues. The James Corden show and how they had to pack on the makeup because, again, she knows she's going to get impeached with that. I think Johnny's lawyers have an impeachment list a mile long for Amber Heard's cross-examination. People are saying no poll, Rachel, and I don't see it either. So I don't know if it's posted somewhere else and not in the chat, but I don't see it. I haven't seen either of them pop up in the chat. So I don't know if we can get that somehow, but we'll see. Okay. she finished with, I lost a piece of myself and I lost my confidence, which I think feels right for an abuse victim. And I think that lines up. And again, if it was more plausible what she was saying, that would be something that makes sense to me. The poll is there, people are saying, and I'm sure Rachel's telling me it's there. Trust me. She sent me a picture of it. It is here. Ah, very interesting. Okay. So here's the poll. Yeah, it's got 2,600 votes. So I think enough people are seeing it. All people that believe all of her testimony are 1% of you. People that believe some are 47%. And some that believe none, and the ones that believe none are 52%. So it's almost 50-50 of people in here that at least believe some of her testimony. It's 48% if you combine the all and the some, and 52 none. So people are believing at least part of it. We're up to 8,000 people, which is awesome. My Twitter and Instagram is at Tragos Law here. If you want to check that out, that's where we have, a lot of our discussions, which we can talk about on those platforms as well. Okay. The strange and creepy accusations also about her doing things to her private parts with his hands and other objects at the end were kind of weird. Like he was grabbing her and throwing her around by it and stuff. It was just very strange. Doesn't mean it's not true, just kind of strange. So let's get to some of the interesting news that happened during the break, and then we're going to pick our winner. The new schedule, when we come back after this week off, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., maybe even 5:30. So we're going to get an hour to an hour and a half of extra testimony, which indicates or should indicate to you that we're behind and the judge needs us to catch up. The case will be getting to the jury by Memorial Day. Closings will be on May 27th, which is the Friday before Memorial Day. And she had a much longer explanation of don't read, watch, or listen to anything about this case, lists all sorts of social media, YouTube not being one of them, but the jurors should not watch, listen, or read the captions on YouTube because that would be bad. And it was much longer, but still not as far as I would have asked the judge to go. I would have told her to say, if you do, you ruin this trial and we have to start all over, and have the judge really put the fear of God into them. That's what I would have said. This is the thing I mentioned at the beginning that I literally haven't heard since law school. It's never happened in one of my cases. It would never happen in a criminal case, but in a civil case, it could happen. The judge announced how much time each side has used. That is literally a mock trial rule. You have 3 hours for your case, each side, and they time when you're directing, then it's your time. When you're crossing, it's your time. And that keeps each side from delaying the case, meaning Amber's team can't say, so you would think at this point, Johnny's case lasted more than 3 weeks. So Johnny's team has probably taken more time. If I was going to tell you to guess, well, I kind of gave it away there. If I was going to tell you to guess just in the chat, who do you think's taken more time, Johnny's team or Amber's team? Meaning legal team. So the way you could delay it is doing long cross-examinations or objecting or these long arguments, and making it seem like, you're using up their time. So they have less time in rebuttal. And you could say, well, Johnny used all his time already. Amber's team could say, so he shouldn't have the rebuttal. Everybody's saying Amber's. I feel like I may have given it away. And that's correct, although it's very close. Johnny's team has taken 35 hours and 6 minutes. Amber's team has taken 36 hours and 31 minutes. So about an hour longer so far. And we've just started her case in chief. Johnny's team has 26 hours and 9 minutes left to do all of their cross-examination, but also including rebuttal. Amber's team has 24 hours and 44 minutes left. So they get about 61 hours is what it looked like each side for their actual case, which is very interesting to me because the judge is basically saying, figure out how to fit your case into that timeline. Really interesting to me, though, because that's something you don't see a lot of them actually. Now, on opening statements, on closings and hearings, absolutely everything's on a time crunch. Like we always have to ask, Judge, I want an hour and a half for closing. I want 30 minutes for opening. I want 3 hours for closing, whatever it may be. That's something we ask and they time, because I see people asking about closing arguments. I don't know how much time they've reserved for that stuff right now. They probably did it in a pretrial statement, in a pretrial agreement is when that happens. I also have the PR statements from each team. If we get into those in the questions, then I will read those and we can talk about those more. But if I'm going to finish this video today, I need to get to the questions because I know it's a lot of people's favorite parts. Oh, but I have to get to the winner first. All right. The winner. Oh, I just lost it on my phone. All right, so we'll announce the winner in a couple minutes. So if you haven't answered the question on our community page, try to win a Lawyer You Know merch t-shirt, go answer it real quick and come back because we're picking our winner now. You have to be a subscriber, so make sure you subscribe before you go answer the question. All right, question number 1 from Industry Rajan. Hey, Peter, worth bringing on a medical expert to talk about bruises, wounds as they correlate in severity of abuse. Given the limited time, how would they prioritize cross versus rebuttal? Great job. Thank you. I think you prioritize what's most important. If you think cross is most important, which I think Amber's cross is most important, you do as much as you can there, and then what's left for rebuttal is left for rebuttal. If they were going to bring a medical expert in, that would have to be somebody on the witness list already, which it very well may be. And you can have medical testimony to how long bruising normally lasts on somebody's face and nose after they break their nose. That is something they could do. Mira T, have you seen the video of Amber Heard during coke on the stand? I've seen the video of her, sticking her finger up her nose with the tissue and sniffing. I'm not going to say she was doing coke, though. Ryan Massey, love the content. Do you know why recordings aren't allowed in to be played if someone else's other than JD or AH? Then that would be considered hearsay, potentially, if it was being offered for the truth of the matter asserted. And there could be issues with verifying it and authenticating who it is, what they're saying. So it brings in a lot of evidentiary issues, and we want only admissible and reliable evidence to come in during the trial. Casey Black, to what extent does Amber Heard have to prove the injuries in the photos came from Depp? It looks like a mark from a Botox shot. And she can't even give us a timeline, which is frustrating to me. This is your evidence. You're telling us what happened, but you can't give me a timeline of when this actually happened and the metadata has been wiped, I guess. It's problematic for me. It's problematic. And she just has to prove it enough to where the jury believes her. Thank you, Mystified. Jennifer Richards Kaplan. Can JD's attorney ask Amber Heard why she thinks certain specific people are not testifying on her behalf? And can they ask Amber why she didn't turn over her phone? So usually that's not appropriate questioning. Usually you don't know what they're going to say. Like she could say they're too scared of Johnny. That would be speculation as well, or hearsay as to why somebody's not testifying. So it's usually inadmissible. Melisasi, Lawyer You Know. Where is your community page? Twitter. I'm sorry, that's on Facebook. Or on Facebook. That's on YouTube. If you go to YouTube, you go to our page, the community tab is on there, and that's where you can see the answer. And Melisasi, you're an OG. I'm going to give you a few minutes, so I'm not going to announce for another 5 minutes, give you a chance to go over there and answer it. I know you're subscribed. Marina V, there is a clip on Twitter of her seemingly sniffling the tissue. People are speculating she's snorting coke. I thought it may be something to help her tearing up. I love your objectivity here. I think it's more likely it's something that's helping her tear up than it is coke. Mystified. Do you think she believes the jury has forgotten everything we've seen and heard? It is true that a lot of the stuff she's saying is everybody else has to be lying for you to be telling the truth. Vera Toglia Ross, thank you so much. And as I've said before, when it just shows this blank post here, I don't know if YouTube is censoring your comment or if this is just a super sticker, but thank you either way. Daniel Jean, if you were to cross JD, what 2 questions would you ask to you do to AH? So I've done a lot more talk about what I'd use AH to cross. I would definitely ask her if she was talking about Johnny Depp in the op-ed. And I would get so specific on all of the abuse, dates, times, when the pictures were taken, or actually the fact that she doesn't know when any of this stuff was taken. I wouldn't say you could get that from Botox or anything like that, like a lot of people are saying. With Johnny Depp, the questions I would ask is, did you ever black out? Because I don't think they ever asked it. They said there were pictures of blacking out. I'd ask him, and if he said no, if I'm on the jury, I don't believe him. I don't believe that Johnny Depp has never blacked out. Do you guys? Put another poll up. Has Johnny Depp ever blacked out? Yes or no? A lot of Johnny fans in here. And I think there's going to be an overwhelming majority for yes, that he's blacked out. So I would try to prove that he's blacked out because of drug, alcohol, whatever, lack of sleep, whatever you want to call it. And then I would say, is it 100% impossible that you would have ever hit Amber Heard? And let him say yes. He would say, yes, it's impossible. But I would plant those kind of seeds of doubt in the jury that he was doing. I'm connecting the drugs and alcohol to his blackouts, to when Amber's saying that's exactly when he would beat her and he would forget what happened. I don't think they did a good enough job connecting the blackouts and and the drug abuse to the physical abuse. Brittany Abernathy, hi from Indiana, basketball country. I'm a dental hygienist and wanted to say your teeth and smile are perfect just for Johnny. Thank you very much. That was so nice of you, because I actually do have a problem with one of my teeth that you'll probably notice now at some point when I smile, and I've never had braces before. So it's God-given, I guess you could say. Both my sisters had braces, so haha. Taylor Umbarger, does the jury get transcripts of what she says? No. Doug D, I don't know if anyone else caught that Amber admitted to writing the op-ed when she first took the stand. Yes, everybody knows that. That's not something they were ever really going to argue. We all know at this point that she wrote the op-ed. It's more the title that she was arguing with. Psych DKK. Why is it the audio recording with more people than JD are not admissible at trial? So I've answered this one. YouTubers Incredible Average has broken down the long recorded sessions where guilt is clear on Amber. If they're not reliable, they can't be authenticated. There could be hearsay in there, or we don't know who's on there. There creates a lot of legal issues. I assume Johnny's team tried to get them in and couldn't. Amy Sadler, are Amber and Johnny allowed to watch, read about the case? I noticed she changed many behaviors the second day, brought up online after the first. Exactly. I agree with you. They can see what's going on in the case. They're probably not supposed to research all the comments, but they're not as sequestered as a jury may be, or as witnesses are, because they're in there watching all the testimony themselves. Do you think the jurors all notice the JD fans outside the courtroom arriving, leaving? Yeah, I think it'd be pretty tough to not notice that. Odetta's back. 1, Johnny testified he didn't want her in Australia, but she showed up. 2, Johnny testified he told her on 5/21 he was filing for a divorce. She claims the DV that night and files Monday. Anybody that's been involved in any family law case at any level realizes that TROs are used commonly as leverage in those cases. I'm sorry, I'm getting hot. I got to take this off. It's not sweatshirt weather here in Florida, in case you haven't noticed. All right. Let's keep rolling. All right. Anyone else see AH snap at Johnny's lawyer? Yeah, she did that a couple times, but Johnny, oh, sorry, I thought it was on the screen. Sorry, R8219. Yeah, but I mean, Johnny was a little, spicy with Rottenborn too. Paulina Yeager, hey, I'm new here, y'all. Love it. Have you seen the Amber video where it looks as though she was sniffing coke on the stand? Yes, we've mentioned it multiple times. If so, what are your thoughts on it and what could happen? Please shout out the Bucks Pizza. Bucks Pizza getting a shout out right here, right now. I don't think it's cocaine. To risk bringing that into the courthouse, that ain't worth it. Do it before if you really are going to do it. I mean, Beverly, I get this is a civil trial, but is there anything for which Amber Heard could be accused criminally that hasn't exceeded the statute of limitations? I'm concerned she is damaging authentic SA causes. I agree with that. I don't like the fact that she's damaging things for real victims. I really don't see any criminal charges coming. I really don't. Heather Higson, thank you. Issa Mello. She seemed to be writing notes or a script during JD's witness testimony and has used what they've all said to debunk things. For sure. I mean, that's what they do. When you're prepping for a witness and you're coming up and you got to debunk what he said, or she loses if they believe what he said. Casey Black, sorry, dumb question maybe. But if perjury charges for Amber Heard were to come, who would charge those or start the process? JD's lawyers or the judge? Neither. It would be local law enforcement in Virginia and the prosecutor's office in Virginia. Criminal acts have to start there with law enforcement and prosecutors. All right. 2 shock value auction. If they think she was really abused, I don't understand. Is the case just bad on that Amber Heard did the article that affected JD's career? It's based on whether or not she was actually abused or if she lied about it just to hurt Johnny's career. Yeah. Objection hearsay. I was shocked at how bad the testimony was. I see what you did there. Devin's Law. What's up, buddy? Another lawyer, in case anybody wasn't here for the last time he commented. That testimony sounded like a first-time trial lawyer's coached direct or a very difficult client. Sometimes it's hard when you have difficult clients and you got to baby them, as I'm sure you know. Heather Higson, thank you again. TJ Sale, thoughts on zero medical records to back any claims? It's not great. It is not great. I would not feel confident about it if I was her lawyers. Emily Stoffel, thank you for the super sticker. Carolyn Badzawan, thanks to you, I got to know the U.S. judicial system better. It is so different than what we have in Europe that I really enjoyed watching this trial and learning something. Greetings from Poland. Awesome. Thank you. Allison Nolette, as a DV survivor of 17 years, your biggest fear is when they get a knife or gun or broken bottle, right? They get the broken bottle and hold it up to you. That was the most part that hit me the most when she was describing it. Thank you, Louisa. Australia audio, you can hear glass being swept. Ooh, that's interesting. Elsbells, hey from the UK, LLB plus LLM grad, awesome. And longtime subscriber since Chauvin trial covers. That's an OG, I like it. Love when you and your dad do analysis together. Amber Heard is shameful, insincere liar. I love when I do too. It's a lot of fun. Everybody yells at me for interrupting him, but when we just start going, we just start going. Shepard, thank you so much. See, now this is interesting. Cake saying her eyes look exactly like Botox bruises. I have no clue. And I'm assuming the jury, a lot of people on the jury have no clue. And that's something maybe you'd need an expert for. Melistasi, you're so smart. Thank you. Love hearing your take on things. I tried, but Amber Heard's story does not match the evidence. Her acting on the stand is very different than what I've heard on the tapes and in her depo. So the jury is not going to have the benefit of seeing her depo. So we have to remember that when we're making up our mind here. But the evidence that's been presented at trial all contradicts Amber Heard's. I agree with you there. All right, we have a winner here to pick. The winner is Joanna Lazkarak. I'm going to spell the last name, Laszczac. I like the supportive family vibe on your channel. Your dad making videos with you, your wife sending jokes to help you out, the picture of your family in the intro. I really like that. And so do I. Thank you, Joanna. You are the winner. Send your address or get in communication with lawyeryouknow@gmail.com so we can send you the giveaway. There's a bunch of other ones. Lauren had a really nice one. I'm fairly new to the channel, but my favorite part by far is when you acknowledge that you're working on your empathy, as it's something that can be tough for you. I think that speaks volumes as to who you are and your willingness to be introspective, which I also struggle with. To me, that part puts a specific perspective on everything you say now. And that's really special to me because now I know for sure who I'm listening to can be absolutely fair. I appreciate that. So that was fun. You guys are awesome. I appreciate that. And we have our new winner. Next one coming at 70K, which, I mean, I think we're already over 60K at this point. So another giveaway coming soon, hopefully. Crime soap opera. How can a jury rationalize a drug addict couple? I agree. That can be hard for them to pick from. They may think they just both lose. I think that's a real possibility in this case. Megan Fair. Amber Heard stated that it was her and Johnny Depp in Australia, but we know Ben King was there daily. Can her testimony be thrown out? Not thrown out, but weighed. The credibility is going to be weighed by the jury for those exact reasons, exactly what you said. Erica Meltzer. I believe none of the abuse. Sure, there is truth to the arguments, etc., but she seems to reverse the roles and exaggerate to a pathological degree. Mel Poi, I can't understand how you take a pic of a screwed up scene, but none of her injuries. I am with you. This is how I think. Not everybody thinks like us, but this is how I think too. Even the pic she took of the mirror, you can't see her. I agree. Dreamscape. Question. Will Whitney be able to testify even though she didn't complete her deposition? I don't know what went on with her deposition, but if they weren't allowed to do a discovery deposition on her, they can keep her out of the trial, meaning Johnny Depp's lawyers. But I don't know what all happened, so I can't answer for sure one way or the other. Streaming Addict. Check out Vanity Fair 2022 article, Kate Moss, on her years of crying over Johnny Depp and how she's still a total hellraiser behind the scene. Okay, I'll have to look at that to get some Kate Moss context. Rita O'Brien, the blackened artwork neatly done. When he is destructive, clothes destroyed. When did he go to the hospital? That is one of the taped encounters. I actually believe the paintings and stuff like that. He blacked out her paintings. I believe that he smashes stuff. He kind of seems like it would stay in line that he does want to hurt her, maybe emotionally. And so he paints over her pictures, or he throws stuff around, or he says mean things to her, but it doesn't seem like he gets to a physical level. And then when you hear her, it seems like he got to it all the time. Saren, the bats on the table are clean, folded over each other. I would think if someone gets abused on the table, there is more movement, maybe pushed off. The jury's going to dissect pictures like this. The jury becomes experts when they're jurors. I've had cases where they want the MRI films back there because the board certified radiologists aren't as good as them when they look for a herniation on an MRI. Are there any notes from a private nurse that say bruises exist and being pounded with his rings would gouge out your face, not just bruise it? There are some discussions about it and then pictures of it. I'm not sure if the nurse actually notes them. Miranda, saw you over on Legal Bites, liked your input. What do you think of her shying away from JD when she got off the stand? That, I hate to write something off, but there are multiple officers and people in the courtroom that would stop Johnny Depp from doing anything to her. So, I mean, I don't know. It's tough for me to believe. Kim, CLLX, the picture she submitted with the bruise on her arm, I noticed she had an iPhone 4, which was made in 2010. Somebody else brought this up as well. This picture was supposed to be from 2015, and she had dark hair. When they were together, she was a blonde. It doesn't add up. And that's the problem with the metadata not being there, and this is the type of stuff I would cross her on to show that her timeline does not add up and does not make sense. What will Johnny Depp's lawyer's best tactic be to sway the jury to Johnny? Have them pick. Who do you believe? This is just about who you believe, Johnny or Amber. That's it. New sub here. Love this channel and live. Thank you so much, Kathy Turner. Cat's crazy life. Rakita showed her doing coke on the stand. Okay. Megan Fair, can JD's legal team point blank ask her why she didn't seek medical treatment for the bottle penetration incident? Absolutely. Why she didn't seek medical treatment for anything? Her medical treatment was calling her nurse and doing a concussion protocol over the phone, which I'm pretty sure her nurse probably isn't even like qualified to do. Not that nurses aren't, but usually you specialize in that thing, or an ER nurse or something like that. I believed her till this trial. This televised trial shows how much she lied to everyone. I understand now why she didn't want it on TV. And now you know why it should be on TV. Cat's crazy life. Thank you so much. Broken dishes. She's trying so hard to act so pure. I agree. I think she's going too far. Like, she literally is acting like she didn't like to dress risque. She didn't want any risque parts. She never flirted with anybody or cheated on Johnny. She only did drugs with Johnny. She only drank wine. She doesn't know what brown liquor is. I think it's just too much, personally. Like, just tone all that down and don't exaggerate and say, yeah, I'm in Hollywood too. I'm an actress. I do big budget films. I do some coke sometimes. I drink a lot. I party. I've cheated on people before, but I'm not an abuser. Or he still abused me. Just because you've cheated on him doesn't mean it's okay for him to abuse you. And you win this case if he abused you. You got to take some L's. You can't just act like you're perfect. Tila Lakinen. Hello from Finland. What if her lawyers no longer believe her and find her lying in the middle of the trial? What happens then? They can either recuse themselves and withdraw, or they can stop asking her questions, or they can let the court know that they no longer feel comfortable doing this because they don't want to put this in front of the court, which indicates to the court that it's a lie. Susan McIntosh, question. Does cross have to occur right after testimony, or can they save it till the end of the trial? No, it's gotta happen while she's on the stand, right after her right after direct. If you haven't subscribed, everybody, take a second, hit the subscribe button, because I'm sure all 8,000 of you are not subscribed yet, but you're missing out. Almanacs, what about the recording from the UK after the Australia incident, Dr. Kipper, nurse, and JD, where she admits wrecking finger? Why not in evidence? I almost feel like her testimony, she hasn't really even denied that she may have been involved with the finger, but I don't know. Thank you, Wishing on a Star. Boomer, is it common in movies and shows to have a little bit of peppermint oil, or some sort of irritating substance to create tears on demand? Oh, it is common. I thought you were asking me because I have no clue, but that makes sense, and I would buy that. And that wouldn't be that hard to get in there on a tissue. Casey Black, can you elaborate a little bit on this metadata being lost? Does that have something to do with the sanctions you've talked about? Yes, I believe so. Again, I haven't read the motions or the hearings, but that's what I've heard, is that she either destroyed the metadata, lost it, or somehow they can't get it, which is showing where the picture was taken, when it was taken, who it was sent to, if anybody, if it was posted on any social media, what kind of phone took it, when, she had that phone. Very interesting to think that they don't have a lot of that. Shelly Church, I heard her say, I said something snotty to provoke him. Yes, she did say that. Then quickly corrected it. That provoked him. Oops. JD often called it being on the nod. Correct. I heard that as well. Jessica Trimbath, can JD's lawyers ask if Amber Heard learned how to fake cry for acting roles? Yes, they can ask her that. Even if objected to, it would be something to put in the jury's mind, I think. Right. Debbie O, she didn't just admit writing the op-ed. She admitted that it was about Johnny. Yes. Gina Gonzalez, blackouts are different than nodding off. I see him as nodding off in these photos. I hear you, and I definitely agree with you with some of the photos. Some he definitely looks passed out, but either way, I would ask him, because if he says he's never blacked out before, yet he agrees he's an addict and needs to seek all this treatment, hard for me to believe. I know normal college kids that would black out, and they didn't do these kind of drugs. Amy Muir, has she turned over her phone yet? And if not, why do you think she hasn't? I don't know. She has not, I guess, from what everybody's saying, but I don't know. Crazy Cat Queen, any chance AH or JD's attorney will review these types of forums, your analysis, and use it for their rebuttal? Some people say that they are reviewing this type of stuff. I'm sure somebody on their legal team is looking around the internet and keeping track of all this stuff. Watching my show specifically, probably not. Still can't get over the awful cross. Will that happen again with Amber Carey? It's a different lawyer, and Camille seems to be on point so far, so hopefully not. She doesn't love Johnny. She loves his money, an easy way for drugs. Michelle Bales, can AH have given JD Ambien? Yes. I mean, yes, especially if he's taking 8 to 10 pills. She could have slipped something in there. Sure, it's possible. 16-bit revolution. Is it possible that her testimony is so believable because she stole the stories by watching videos of actual survivors' context? She used the stories of her ex-BFF, Amanda de Cadenet, as her own previously. It's possible. Paul Air, hey, my buddy, or say buddy, my wife Sarah wants to know how much you think it'll cost for each side. 7 figures, I would say. I mean, this 6-week trial has to cost $500,000 maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. Noxie, another lawyer was saying that Amber Heard's team had good setup of DA, not just physical, but also verbal, emotional from Jay's testimony. However, they now have a hard time believing AH because she's gone about physicality. I agree. It's my whole point of she's setting this bar so high and creating this huge burden as opposed to sticking to things that are more believable. I agree. Patty Bilsma, why was Ghislaine Maxwell not televised, but Depp is? Ghislaine Maxwell was in federal court, and they don't televise federal court cases. Did you listen to the Australia audio, Ronan? No, I've tried to come into this case like a juror. Thank you, Lisa Fountain. Like a juror, not bringing in, all the motions and all the evidence that might not come in at trial. I want to listen to what the jury listens to and what the jury listens to only, so I can try to figure out why they make the decision they make. NKS 432, as a lawyer, her team does not look like they are conversant with trial work. Objecting to your own question, not great. Why are you asking questions in cross that you don't know the answer to? There have been some issues. Vicky Shack and OG, if she was so scared, why the hell would she buy a knife, saying until death? Why can't they put in her ex's testimony? I still think the door is open for the ex. We'll see if it comes out on cross. Bonich, following the trial from my psych ward bed, these streams make my time go a bit faster. So thank you. Awesome. And I hope you're doing well or improving quickly. Enlightened Despot. Do actors make the worst witnesses? Do they make the worst witnesses? Canadian lawyer here. I think I have my first actor plaintiff case. No, I think they'd make great witnesses, especially if it's lower profile than this and everybody's not watching the trial and picking it apart. Like a normal trial, I'd love to have an actor or an actress because they usually have pretty good memories. And it's like you jot down some notes just to remember, here's what happened. I'm not saying to script something out and have them memorize it, but here are the events, here's the timeline, here's what happened and how it happened. I would think they would present well. Paul Ayer. I've only had like very F-level actors as clients to where it's like, maybe they're not such a great actor. Paul Ayer. Sarah wants to know the cost of each side. I believe I already answered this, Paul Ayer. I definitely think 7 figures, meaning over $1 million. Embellished. As a developer, the YouTube UI UX is horrible. Don't know what that means. Tell your viewers to type super chats inside the colored boxes, not the white box. Oh, he's helping me with those little blank things. Okay, so everybody take note. Type inside the colored box. I am also YouTube illiterate. So Zello Yellow, you think strategy on JD's team will be to use Dr. Curry to refresh the jury on BPD and HPD diagnosis she gave, confused glass and feet on walking? Yeah, I think so. Roxanne Conroy, thank you. Yeah, this is what he's talking about. So if you had something typed in the white box, it's not showing up in the blue section. Christina C. Did anyone notice that Amber Heard said she confided in her mom about abuse? Her mom is deceased, so that won't be able to be corroborated. Same thing with Judge, the guy she keeps mentioning, the security guard, also dead, can't corroborate. Luciana Soler. Thank you for your analysis. Is a Virginia jury better than an LA one for JD's case? I don't know about if a jury's better, but the legal system's definitely better because this probably gets thrown out in LA. Party Blue. I heard Australia is awaiting this trial's decision to come after her for some reason. Do you know what that's all about? I've heard something about her dogs or her animals that she wasn't allowed to bring there. That's all I've really heard that somebody's waiting for in Australia. Do actors make worse witnesses? Canadian lawyer here. I have an actor plaintiff case. I am on for defense, and discovery went very well. Flattery works. Absolutely, I think flattery works. Sorry, I just read it again, but didn't put it up. I think flattery works. Absolutely. I think they'll make good witnesses, though. But I think they will think they can outsmart you and outdo you on the stand, and you can always use that to your benefit. Peggy Wolf, I got lost. Has she got the JD lost his finger time? If so, which one? Yes, but I don't know what you mean, which one. Yes, she's gotten there and has talked about it and being bloody and writing all over the wall. Marina V, forgot to ask, do you think there is a way out of the Milani situation considering the pallet itself has been entered into evidence? I don't see a way out. Tarantula Ravenblood, the bottle she said was used for her Gone Girl defense had clear liquid. The pick of the bottles pointed out was Maker Mark, which is a brown liquid. She probably used that because it's a red, because of the red wax. Interesting. Carrie Barton, new sub. I recognize your name. Can you tell me where to find the question for the giveaways? I answered this before it, so hopefully you saw it. It's on the YouTube community page. There will be more giveaways, so make sure you subscribe and check out there. I know you're already subscribed, but anybody else listening, it's on YouTube, and then it's one of the tabs. You click the tab on the community page. Maybe we'll start posting it on Twitter as well, which my handle for Twitter is right here, Tragos Law, at Tragos Law. Thank you, Kelly Lanelli. Corona Dave. I agree that the jury may not award either of them, but I don't think that was JD's goal anyways. He wanted to expose her pathology. I don't disagree. Meg, can't go to Starbucks without seeing Johnny v. Amber tip jars with Johnny's full. How can the jury avoid this issue for 10 days? Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about stuff like that. You're right. It's like impossible, which again is a big lean in favor of Johnny. Patricia Escueda. Did you catch when Amber Heard said her former best friend Rocky? Did they fall out? If everyone was afraid of JD, why would Rocky bring her parents on vacation? Good point. I have no idea if they fell out, but that's a good point. Julie Hedberg. Are the lawyers allowed to do outside research and plan based on public attitude toward the case? Yes. Do you think that's why Amber mentioned JD's rings? It could be. Absolutely could be. Why is it even being televised? Because people of the state have the right to watch and see how their judicial system works. It's a public policy thing, and there's nothing to hide. And it's an open gallery, so anybody can come sit in court. But with today's day and age of technology, they're extending that. Stupid question. But what is the question the jury has to answer? Do they have to come to a unanimous decision? Yes. Nate, the lawyer, posted it on Legal Bites' stream. It was like, okay, did this statement come from Amber? Is it true? Was it made with actual malice? I don't have it in front of me, but we'll get the jury instruction and look at it when this case closes for sure. Heather Higdon, thank you. Why hasn't she turned over her phone? Can't they legally force her? Yes, and the judges, I guess, done it, but she's still refusing to. Titch McGraw, AH is making a fool of herself. Yoga, could you explain what cross-examination is? Cross-examination is where the other side's lawyers get to ask you questions and they get to do it in a leading fashion and kind of control the witness to get their part of the story out. You don't just get to explain your side of the case without anybody critiquing it, basically, and getting to impeach you and stuff. Jessica Blinko, love your channel. JD has avoided looking at her while on the stand. Do you think the jury may see him as being even slightly guilty because of this? I see it as the opposite, but there may be somebody, because I've gotten this question a lot, there may be somebody that does see it negatively, and we'll have to see how the jury feels about it. Linda Chkla, thank you for the super sticker. Amnesty Antoinette, AH said he beat her and pulled her hair out after his injury. I agree. And the pus and stuff she explained, again, just exaggerating. Luke, in 2016, she recounts the same exact events with coldness and apathy in that trial. Same events 6 years later. She can't stop crying just mentioning them. Can the jury have access and see that? No. JM, can they investigate if AH had Botox with metadata? Not with the metadata, but you would think they would have ordered those medical records to see if, if she has a Botox doctor, if she got any done at that time. That's something you can do in discovery. Dark Case Files. When she gave testimony about choking, she slipped up and said, I loosened my grip. Oh, gosh. And then said when she was moving from bar, it was she had run out of things to throw. I didn't catch that. Amy Muir, if you were her lawyer and after her testimony so far, would you recuse yourself? Honest opinion, no way. If she told me this was true and explained it the same story on the stand as she's been explaining it to me for years, I mean, I can see how this would be believable, especially if it's your client and you've been with them for a long time working the case. Tino, sorry, maybe this is a stupid question. So many people saying it's a stupid question. They're not stupid. She was on the Jimmy Kimmel show for 6 years. And if she was afraid of flirting because of Johnny's jealousy, why would she kiss Jimmy? Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you can look at her movie career and her red carpet appearances to see that that's not really that believable how she's acting. Vandoma, what do you think about the audio of the plane where she says she got kicked and pushed and no one did anything to stop it? She conveniently mentioned somebody that's dead. And if he was that passed out and, about to black out, did he really have enough strength for her to beat her up and she couldn't do anything to defend herself? Inconsistencies, I think, make it tough. Rachel Moss, can the witness that were subjected to recall still testify in rebuttal? Yes. Also, do you think there will be a rebuttal after the defense rest? Yes. Ooh la la Lisa. The ex-assistant has come out today saying she's devastated that Amber has taken her SA story about the bottle and used it exactly. Oh, interesting. Using somebody else's story. Mystified. Have you seen the movie Gone Girl? Yes. The similarities are frightening. A lot of similarities. Melissa Phillips. Her hair was also long. If it was pulled out at the root, these pictures of her hair would start looking cut. That's true. I didn't even think about that. I was thinking it was a very small amount, but it did look like hair that could have been pulled, but it was short. So I don't know. Ashley Fields, what are your thoughts on Dr. Hughes and Dr. Curry's differing opinion? Interesting that they have different diagnosis. Not that interesting. I did not to cut your question, but in every case, somehow two experts come up with opposite opinions. They flatter their own side. Yeah, that is not uncommon. It's par for the course. I thought Dr. Curry was more believable because of how Dr. Hughes's generalizations seemed biased to me toward women and against men. Not even Johnny versus Amber, but just toward women and against men. Caroline Cuevas, not in law, wondering how this trial is televised. This is a request by either side. Since the Kardashian trial was not televised, love your channel. Yes, and the judge okayed it. Thank you. Semir Rapp, how can the jury go a week not hearing info on the case? I think it's impossible. Crafty 10. AH was present when JD and Marilyn Manson covered You're So Vain by Carly Simon. She also has pics and videos playing the guitar. She also said she's an old soul and they bonded over old music and different kind of writing and poetry. So I didn't buy that either. And it almost like Amber didn't want to answer the way Elaine wanted her to answer. She's like, I've heard her songs. It sounded like Elaine was going to make it seem like, oh, I'm Amber. I'm way too young to know that stuff. This guy's twice my age. But she kind of gave a kind of an honest answer. I think she said, I have heard her songs. Crazy Steve. Just want to say I like your vibe regarding this case. Subbed. Awesome, Steve. Appreciate you. Dan Martin. Sorry if I already mentioned, did AH's phone records get released for trial? It seems like no. And it seems like there's a pending sanctions motion. Mel Poi. JD already won public opinion. I don't think he cares what the jury says. I think he cares, but I think he cared more about the public opinion. Whose team gets taken when they go up to sidebar? Usually they pause during objections or sidebars. Houtain. What do you think the chances are JD wins? I'm in the 60 to 70 percentile right now. Maiden Iron. If AH didn't submit the metadata, how could she submit those pictures as evidence? Dr. Muffin said the Rocky got punched by Amber, if I remember correctly. I don't remember that. But because both, I guess Johnny's team probably agreed to let them, either they didn't have enough evidence that they were unreliable based on the lack of metadata. It doesn't just automatically keep them out, but also Johnny Depp's team may think they can use these pictures to their advantage. Bubble of Cats. Calimera. New to this channel, love it. Can JD's attorneys ask Amber Heard why she didn't turn over her text during their cross? Yeah, I think they can, but problem is, I think I would ask it like this. You didn't turn over your text, did you? That's how I would say it, not why didn't you turn over your text? Because you could say, I lost my phone, I broke my phone, they all, I lost them all. You don't want to give her the chance to explain her answer. Smile face. Hi from Fairfax County, Virginia. Awesome, a local there. Do you think the public opinion will change to either JD or AH after the ruling, or do you think it won't affect the public opinion? I think the public opinion is, this is from Smile Face, is already steering pretty heavily toward Johnny. I don't know if a verdict's going to change that. Maybe it could. Rita O'Brien. Cuts do clot. No way he was able to write with blood for a long time. And the pain, I was thinking that too. Like, did he have a bloody finger and he took it with this hand and rubbed it and then wrote or something? There's no way he took that busted finger and wrote like this on the wall, I wouldn't think. But maybe on all those drugs, maybe he did. Me Style, Sue Style, thank you. Mac Sauce. Can they go after Amber's assistants if they find her liable and she can't pay? Oh, assets. Sorry, I read that said assistants. Yes, if they're uncollectible assets, they can go after it. Yuli, do you think she could actually repeat most of the details of each event correctly and cross? I feel not. That's why somebody asked me what I do. I'd go through those details in excruciating detail. Courtney, Kate, AH's former assistant, claimed in her statement letter that AH stole her essay story. Also, can the jurors see JD's fans arriving and leaving? They can probably see him arriving and leaving. I mean, the judge is probably going to try to shelter them, but Vera Taglia Ross. Do you think JD's partner of 14 years can be called to testify? I heard she wasn't on the witness list. Seems odd to suddenly become an abuser. I agree with that, but I heard she wasn't on the witness list. CG, and that's also kind of sketchy to me, is why isn't he calling any? Maybe they said it was inadmissible evidence. I don't know. There's a lot we don't know. AH acts like a tough horse-breaking country girl and construction worker and a frail in-love lovebird who's been swatted. Which is it? I agree. We call that inconsistent. Marcy X, hello from Brooklyn, New York. Peter, love your channel. Metadata gives you the GPS location, date, time, type of device used, camera settings, all the digital images, and if it was edited or manipulated. Great point. Someone from the big city needs to tell us that, right? Erica Meltzer, metadata. Since the pics are so incongruent with the stories and the jury will get instruction that AH refused the court orders and they can draw a negative inference, it actually is to JD's benefit, in my opinion. I agree. Thank you, Misal. Stu Style. Doug D. How many jurors do you think go home and watch JD movies? I hope 0, but probably some. Tracy Mesmer. Thank you. Mela Bertine. AH quoted several movies in her testimony to describe her abuse and life with Johnny word for word. Could that be used as evidence of her lies? You can use it in cross and say, here's the quote from Talented Mr. Ripley or whatever. Over 9,000 people watching. Thank you for watching. Get your questions in because we're almost done. Hit the like button and subscribe before we finish today because I want to do another giveaway. When we hit 70K, we're doing another giveaway. Amy Horrell, can you explain contempt? If the judge ordered ER's phone and text, isn't that contempt of court? I would think it would, but it seems like they're reserving ruling on that contempt or sanctions motion. Contempt means you're not following a court order. The court could even throw somebody in jail for that or fine them for that. Marty, could AH's team dig out surprise evidence in her digital undisclosed material? Too late for anything new that would benefit her. I'll tell you that right now. If they came up with the stuff and they say, oh, we actually did find it and it's bad for her, that would be admissible potentially. Val Nosgo, what do you think about Amber admitting to writing the op-ed in her opening statement the first day testifying? Not surprising at all. Ashley Fields, thought on Amber Heard's lawyer asking such leading questions and basically directing her testimony. It's not great. It's really not great. And she's losing a lot of objections and it's kind of messing up the flow. Amber posed for a photo crying, only wasn't crying. I did watch this. And she wipes her face and she kind of pauses. You see a flash and then she keeps going. I thought people were talking about camera photos post-trial. This is much harder to prove she was posing for the camera. Thank you, Melissa. Cat's Crazy Life. Yes, she punched Rocky in the face. Interesting. Sonia Hart, Courtney Ingley. Can JD bring in new pics of Amber Heard to counter her? Yes. Loving the background. What a vibe. It's a vibe. You know, it's a vibe in here. Crime soap opera. AH is a brut. Jessica Blinko. What do you think of AT supposedly using lines from The Talented Mr. Ripley when she said it's like the sun when he shone, he was glorious? I was one of the early ones on that and read those lines that he read. I don't think she said them verbatim, word for word. So I don't know if you watched the trial, but it was different. It was just the same exact sentiment, which was the point I was making. And I was on Nick Rekieta's channel when it happened. And I said it literally immediately when she said those words. And I think it's caught like wildfire. And it's really crazy because it was spot on. And I said it immediately. And thanks to Nick, we have documented evidence of it. Trish, did you see Amber was wearing the same white shirt in all the injuries pictures? I did not notice that. Carol Peterson, I have the exact injury, lost a finger last May, bone sticking out, etc. No, he could not have written the blood, LOL. That's just one thing I know is a lie. And that's the problem, is like when you start setting them up and knocking them all down one after the other, that's when it gets tough. Nothing space. We're down to the last 5 questions. So if you get them in now because we're almost done here. What about the court lawyer etiquette? Judge needed to keep track of evidence, huffing, coaching witnesses, non-submitted notes, contradicting witnesses. The judge is not happy about that evidence thing because here's the problem. A judge's nightmare is something coming in that shouldn't have come in, or them redacting a piece of evidence that wasn't, and that becoming an appellate issue. And the judge doesn't want that. So the judge did get on to them about, you guys got to keep this evidence straight. It's the lawyer's job, not our job, or not my job. 1920 Farmhouse. Isn't it suspicious AH's sister not testify since she witnessed the abuse? What's a sanction? A sanction is a punishment. So if you don't do something that you're supposed to do, you can get thrown in jail, have to pay a fine, get sanctioned by the court, dragged to the courthouse in handcuffs, basically. I heard she wasn't testifying because she refused to finish her depo or something crazy. Can the defense say anything after rebuttal, or does that just happen in closing? Sorry, just really trying to understand it. This is a convoluted case. It's such an unusual case. If you ever watch another civil trial, it's going to be different from this. There is technically a counterclaim where Amber is the counterclaim plaintiff. So if she does have enough time, she would potentially be allowed to do a rebuttal if she told the judge it was in the scope of the counterclaim and only to respond to things Johnny said about the counterclaim, not her defense of the claim. Thank you, Wayne Lang, for the super sticker. C minor ops. Can AH appeal saying jury was swayed during break? I think, and I've said this a few times, that both sides had to agree to waive that as an appellate issue before you'd agree to have a week break and a 6-week trial. And the reason they may waive that is because it's very hard to get a 6-week trial docket in state court. So the judge said, listen, this is the only chance I get 6 weeks and we have to take a break in the middle. Do you want it or not? And if the answer is no, then we'll continue the case. And we don't want to continue cases. So that's my guess. Roxanne Conroy. Notice isn't wearing eyeliner or mascara. If she wouldn't be able to get away with fake cry. You see the streaks. She says a square bottle. You would feel that. Okay. Ben Johnny 87. Hey, dude, Ben from Norfolk, England here. You are absolutely brilliant, by the way. Thank you so much. Super smart and love your channel. If the case continues like this via Amber and witnesses, what's the verdict? I think it's a verdict for Johnny. I do. I'm leaning that way right now, but I'm not fully convinced yet because reserve ruling. Let's hear what else her evidence is. Kelly Lanelli. Jurors and gallery people park in the same lot. I followed 3 out. See my previous post for juror descriptions. So I did hear some juror descriptions, which the 6 male, it was like 4 Asian, 2 white, I want to say. Where is it? Oh, and then the females, there was 1 African-American, 1 white, 1 Asian, I think, for the females. And everybody, the majority, I think, were in their 20s and the rest in their 40s. So a rather young jury. Nisipisi. I butchered that. Have you listened to the full audio of Aftermath of Australia incident? No. Definitive proof she wasn't injured in any way and she injured JD? No, I have not seen it. Chelsea J said I'd send a super chat today in the comments, and you did. Thank you for doing that. Let's finish here because that's the last one I have. Oh, I just got a couple more. Let's finish here though with those PR comments. As Mr. Depp's counsel, this is a quote from Johnny Depp's counsel. As Mr. Depp's counsel correctly predicted in their opening statements last month, from his PR team, Ms. Heard did indeed deliver the performance of her life in her direct examination. While Ms. Heard's stories have continued to grow new and convenient details, which is never good if the first time you've ever heard something is during the trial. It's not good for Heard. Mr. Depp's recollections continue to have remained exactly the same throughout this 6 painful years since her first allegations were made. His truth, the truth, is the same no matter the environment on which it has been presented. The upcoming cross-examination from Mr. Depp's team will be the most telling and will certainly highlight the many fallacies Ms. Heard has now attempted to pass off as fact throughout her convoluted testimony. That's a spokesperson for Johnny Depp, now a spokesperson for Amber Heard in response. As evidenced by the statement just released, Mr. Depp's defamation claim is falling apart so rapidly that his counsel are turning from prosecutor to persecutor. Well, prosecutors usually are for criminal cases, but you prosecute a civil case too, so I'll allow it. They boast from Mr. Depp's story that Mr. Depp's story has not changed. If so, since he lost the domestic violence restraining order and resoundingly lost the liable case in UK, perhaps he should consider a new strategy rather than recycled approach. Are they saying he should change his testimony? Because I disagree. Because you shouldn't change your testimony. Approach of attacking the victim and refusing to take responsibility for his own conduct. If Mr. Depp was truly innocent, why has he repeatedly apologized to Ms. Heard and promised to put the monster away for good? He's explained that. One of Ms. Heard's disappointments is Mr. Depp's inability to distinguish fact from fiction. This appears to have spread to his legal team, the same team that is so panicked they're fighting tooth and nail to prevent compelling evidence and photos from being introduced. That's dirty pool. Fighting tooth and nail from getting inadmissible evidence out. Like, it's a joke. You can say that about both sides. I hate when non-lawyers condemn lawyering and the rules of evidence that we all have to play by. I hate that. Small wonder if Mr. Depp does not have the fortitude or courage to even look at Ms. Heard at all throughout the proceedings. They're trying to use that, as he could not in the UK trial, and instead he doodles and snickers. Mr. Depp's behavior in this trial has been as pitiful as it was in their marriage. Apparently, they feel they must double down on their demonstrably losing two-part strategy, distract the jury, and demonize the victim. Some spicy stuff there. All right, we'll finish off here. Hello, I would have a hard time being cross-examined on things that actually happened. She included so many details that were contradictory. It's going to be brutal to see cross. Moon is saying, when I'm telling the truth, it's hard enough to be cross-examined. If I was lying with all these details, it's impossible. So we'll see. And that could show she's telling the truth if she has good answers for everything. Anita, hi, how can they get into abuse against the ex-wife? Well, Dr. Hughes said she has no history of abuse or ever being accused of abuse, or nothing came into her diagnosis, which I think opened the door. Devon's Law, Heard convicted of perjury in Australia over the dogs. Convicted or charged? Wow, that would be, if she was convicted of perjury, I think they'd be able to get that out as a crime of moral turpitude. Vecrixit. There's an instance when Johnny said he restrained her in a hug. I agree with you. And that they headbutted, and that's where the accusation comes into play. Some say that him simply restraining her is assault. What do you say? Technically speaking, it could be. And I agree. This is why I would have gone with a simple defense and say he calls it a hug and an accidental headbutt. She called it grabbing of the arm, squeezing and throwing her to the side and headbutting her. So I would use the way he described the story in her words, and it could be considered abuse potentially, which would then make her a physical abuse survivor, and then make what she said in the op-ed piece her constitutionally protected opinion. And I think she could win the case off of that. I brought that up during his testimony, and I agree with you. Now, instead, she's turning him into this rapist, violent, creepy, psycho, like serial abuser. That's what she's turning him into here with the burden she's creating, and making her job harder, in my opinion. All right. That's all we've got, folks. All right. Last one, Terry. Can JD's lawyers call Lily Rose in rebuttal if she's on the witness list? Yes, but my guess is Johnny doesn't want that. All right. That's a wrap for today. This was fun, as always. You guys rock. Hit the subscribe button when you take off from the video. Get in the community page. Let's have some fun. Like the video on your way out as well, and tell your friends they can still catch the recap and the replay later. The recap is the first half. I do it that way so that anybody that doesn't want to watch the questions doesn't have to, although I've gotten some comments that the questions are the best part. So I encourage you to stick till the end. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. We will be doing a live at some point Monday. Hit that reminder bell and subscribe so that you can be alerted when we do it. You all are awesome. Thank you for being here. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you next week.